Hey, thanks for dropping into this episode of Kontent Waves, a podcast about content led innovation and the people in the space who are using content to connect and engage in meaningful ways. This podcast is brought to you by the team at Content.ai, a leading content management system that helps organizations solve their most complex content challenges. Today's episode is with Zaneta Styblova, a content manager, a fellow member of Content.ai's marketing team, and an artist. She believes creativity actually thrives under pressure and shares why setting a strict deadline can unlock your most ambitious and surprising work. Hope you enjoy the episode. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for this episode of Kontent Waves, and I'm so glad to have Zaneta here on the call with us today. How you doing, Zaneta? All good?
Yeah, great. And you?
Yeah, doing all right too. I'm so glad that you could join us, and let's just kick it off with some insight into the work that you do. You're a content manager and an artist, so a perfect guest to have on this podcast.
Thank you for the introduction. As a content manager, I create, manage, and optimize content every day. It's like everything from articles and web copy to visual assets like images and videos. And I have to say, I love the variety. Like each week is a bit different, and each quarter you get completely new projects, and it's a lot of fun. And I have always wanted to be either an artist or a writer, and writing became my everyday job. So that dream came true in like a very true practical way. And art has stayed more on the hobby side. It's like something I turn to when I want to create just for the joy of it. And I do traditional and digital too, and it's mostly inspired by people. And it's like, I don't know, realism meets geometric art meets cartoons. And I would say this, like, writing and making art is a nice balance. And I have painted on canvases, walls, even on people.
Wow.
I've done book illustrations, but there's still a lot I haven't tried and I would love to try.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. It sounds like a pretty interesting hobby that you have. I can draw stick figures, so we're needing to rely on your advice today. So, as we were talking about and getting ready for your episode, you did share with me something pretty interesting, which you said you believe pressure and deadlines can actually unlock creativity. So, when did you first realize that this constraint wasn't a limit, but actually a tool for you?
I think the first time I truly realized that constraint could be a creative tool, not just a limitation, was when I was writing my master's thesis. It was a massive task. It was like 40,000 words. And, instead of trying to tackle it all at once, I broke it down into smaller, manageable tasks, manageable pieces. And I booked consultations with my professors, and I treated each like a deadline. So I knew I had to, show up prepared for the meeting with something to discuss, like an idea, a section, or a question, because otherwise I would be wasting the teacher's time. And I would say this sort of, I would maybe call it like external accountability. It gave me like this sense of urgency. And it worked. I finished the thesis ahead of time, and it won some awards. It got published in a few journals, and the university gave me a lot of money for it. And they still use it as study material for students of literature. And this experience taught me that when you structure a big creative challenge into smaller, with small real deadlines, you can actually create this productive pressure that sort of keeps you moving. And I would say the key is to involve other people. So, and it's also like the opposite of creative chaos. It allows you to focus, in my opinion.
Wow. First of all, congratulations. That sounds amazing. It's so interesting to me to think about master's thesis as like that realization point, because that can otherwise be maybe an isolating experience. You're reading, I can read one more article, I can read one more book, I could learn something. And I don't know, if you're sitting in your apartment in your jammies typing it up or working on it or something, it can suddenly feel like an overwhelming task. So it's cool to see that you found a way to tackle that, to not only make it work for you, but also to win awards and stuff. So that's really cool to hear.
Yes.
So we were talking as well, like when we were thinking about the episode, most people associate innovation with brainstorming or freedom or let's see what comes up, throw ideas against the wall, things like that. So what are some ways you would challenge this assumption?
Yeah, I mean, I totally get why people associate innovation with freedom because it's exciting, it's like limitless and spontaneous, like you said. But in my experience, freedom without structure often leads to like endless, I don't know, tinkering or procrastination. And I believe deadlines create urgency, and urgency forces decisions. So it narrows your focus, and I would say it removes the luxury of overthinking, um, which maybe ironically opens the door to some bold, unexpected ideas. And I think I've had some of my most creative breakthroughs when, not when I had all the time in the world, but when I had no choice but to finish something by, I don't know, Friday or some other day. So I believe a deadline forces you to be resourceful and to prioritize and to take risks. And that's where real innovation happens.
Mm-hmm. That's great advice already, but I'm sure we have more on the way. So we wanted to bring you on because you have that role in content management. You are working with external deadlines and pressures. That next blog that has to be part of this next campaign, which is tied to that next product launch, which is coming out at a certain date, things like that. And then as an artist, you probably have accountability against, I don't know if you're doing any exhibitions or if somebody needed something and they commissioned a piece for a certain event or certain holiday, or who knows, you can share what that's like for you. But you're no stranger to tight turnarounds, it seems like. So can you walk us through a time or two when a specific deadline pushed you to create something better than you actually expected?
Yeah, probably one of the clearest examples would be Halloween event that I created in my hometown. It started as a fun idea. It was, just a spooky night for the locals. But once I designed the poster and I started promoting it, it became like very real. The deadline became very real. And I suddenly had to write the script and I had to design the rooms. And I even made some masks from liquid latex for all the actors. And we pulled it together in time, and it ended up being so popular that we actually had to turn people away at the door.
Oh, wow.
The capacity was like 300 people for the afternoon and the night, and a few hundred more people showed up. And the first year we did it, we got a lot of negative reviews because, the people couldn't get inside. But it was a big success, and honestly, it never crossed my mind that so many people would come. And we ran it for like 3 years, and it kept growing in scale and ambition. And it all happened because we had a fixed date and zero room for delays. And maybe one more example. Another time, I booked a venue for an art exhibition before I had any actual paintings ready, and that gave me about 3 months to paint like 20 plus pieces from scratch, and it was intense, but it gave me clarity and focus. And I didn't have time to second guess myself, so I painted every day after work, and somehow I made it. And all the paintings got sold, and all the money was donated to a dog shelter in Prague, which was amazing. So for me, deadlines don't kill creativity; they give it shape and urgency. So I think when the clock is ticking, it just allows you or forces you to make choices, trust your gut, and you often create work that you didn't think would be possible.
Man, you're talking about like mega deadlines, 300 people Halloween event, an exhibition of 20 paintings. Your deadlines are like hard mode. What was it like when you set the deadline for the exhibition space and you like knew you had to commit to painting the 20 pieces? Did you have a moment of panic or a moment of clarity? What's going on in your head when you know the deadline helps you, but you suddenly are like, oh, there is a deadline?
Yeah, I think I just imagined the worst case scenario, which in this example would be 3 out of 2 empty rooms and people looking at empty walls, and that would be really embarrassing for me. So I'm like, oh, I can't get to this point, so I have to paint. So, the consequences, like, yeah, I think I mentioned that layer of external accountability, people sort of relying on you or expecting something from you, and if you don't deliver, then it's gonna be the end of the world.
Yeah, absolutely no pressure at all. That's great advice. A little bit scary probably for folks who might be new or want to be moving from that tinkering stage to this external accountability phase. So when you're up against the clock, you already talked a little bit about having that worst case scenario mindset or the consequences mindset. So then what actually shifts in your creative process or mindset then?
I think there are like two shifts happen. One is mental and one is practical. So mentally, I just stop aiming for perfection, and I focus on what needs to be done. So not what could be like endlessly tweaked. And this shift helps me stay sharp and decisive. And practically, I become like much more, I would say the right word is structured. So I break things down into small tasks, and I often build in those little accountability hacks I have mentioned, like booking time with someone or looking in deadline publicly, like, a date on the poster. And I think it's like funny, but the pressure actually quiets the noise. So you stop overthinking and you just end up creating things that are bolder and maybe more focused than if you had all the time in the world.
Wow, that's some really helpful tactical insight of how you work under pressure. We want to continue with this insight because you kind of seem like a little bit of a unicorn here, with where you can quiet the noise and focus, and deadlines are a power tool for you. So, if a team wanted to unlock this kind of constraint fueled innovation, what's like a simple thing that they could try this week, really dipping their toes in before they, book an exhibition room with 20 plus paintings and nothing started?
Yeah, I mean, of course, this approach might not work for everyone. It's just my lesson learned. So depends, but maybe one simple but powerful thing that a team could try is like to take one project, big or small, and break it down into small, concrete, actionable tasks into a tool, inside a tool like Asana, which is what we use in our team. And that's what I do when I'm up against a deadline. I just bring everything into Asana, even the tiny steps. And then I start assigning collaborators, and I focus on specific parts, even if it's just, feedback or quick check-in. And this layer of accountability, external accountability, does two things. It just keeps the momentum going, and it makes the deadline feel real. And, suddenly it's not just a vague project sitting in your head. It's this shared plan with actual people who are expecting some progress from you. So I would say this sort of constraint-fueled innovation doesn't need to be dramatic. It can start with structure and a bit of healthy pressure. And this like small shift in process can totally change the way a team moves.
So I wanted to ask your advice. This can be tough for some people, and me as well. As how do you think of the size of the smaller steps, or how do you find the first step? When you look at a behemoth project, or if you're looking at all the things that you have to do, how do you break things down into smaller pieces, and what are those smaller pieces?
Well, I like to start with like the bigger or the most important phases, like, I don't know, a task for a designer because we will need some new design. Then the copy related tasks for the copywriter, maybe some ad campaign for our project, for a campaign manager. And then I just talk to the people and see what else needs to be done, like usually with our web developer, there are some issues that you usually can't foresee. And I think you just have to start discussions with people in different roles to see what else might be needed. So that helps. You always tell me, like, over communication is key. So you should always talk to people and see what needs to be done, because you might not realize at the beginning how many small steps are needed to complete a project.
Yeah, that's always the toughest thing. If you have a deadline, is you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it, and that's always an interesting thing to figure out. But with the practice there and enough muscle building around these small steps, I think the deadline can then start feeling like that healthy pressure, that healthy accountability. It sounds like you bring in a lot of folks. You have the external accountability, but you also have conversations and you bounce ideas off of other people and try to get their inputs to find the best way forward. So it sounds like your creativity can often be a collaborative process. I know at work it might have to be because there are other folks involved, but how do you see something as personal as art? How do you bring people in and welcome people in to that as well?
Well, that's such a tough question. Well, you have to find, I think, people who share the same interests and or passion as you do. For example, for the scary Halloween project, I, only asked friends who love Halloween, because otherwise I would end up with actors who just wouldn't, feel like the characters they were playing. I don't know. And I think it's the same in our marketing team. Like, each person loves what they do. So, they just focus on the part that's most important to them. And I don't think you can be doing such a job if you don't enjoy what you do. Mm-hmm. Or what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Relying on other people's expertise and trusting in it and building, sometimes if it is a large collaborative project, building that deadline together can also be helpful. Like you mentioned, I'm not a web development expert either, so I don't know how long certain things would take, and trusting those deadlines and building towards something together can be powerful. And for that Halloween example, I think that's really cool to see, involving people who are passionate about something and that leading to turning away people at the door. It really speaks volumes to, what happens when a bunch of passionate people get together and want to do well, and maybe even all feel that pressure together. Even during like that launch moment where you're all sort of stressed and on the edge of your seat, that has momentum building capacity too, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you should just always tell other people, like your family or your friends, what you do and make them excited about it. And then you get to show them the result of your work, be it, I don't know, an ebook or a video. I mean, not all your family relatives will care about our marketing ebook about headless CMS. But you can show your grandma the ebook and just say, hey, those are really nice visuals. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, because there's one thing about getting to the deadline and then having that like sigh of relief maybe, but there's another thing to celebrate it. What happens to you, or what's that feeling when you meet the deadline?
Well, I just close all the tasks in Asana and you can see this animation of a unicorn flying and you get this awesome feeling. And then usually I just buy some ice cream or I eat a piece of chocolate, something like that, and then I open a new project.
Mm-hmm. So you have that sort of transitionary mini celebration in there. That's good to see. And then after your exhibition, when you had sold all of the paintings, what was the feeling there after it all? The walls were empty, then they were full, and then theoretically empty again. What was that feeling like for you?
Well, I think I felt a bit maybe disappointed that it's over. So maybe the most fun part about this is like the process, but when it's actually over, you might feel a bit deflated because you managed to accomplish what you wanted to do, but now you have to start again.
Yeah. And how would you say that you think about starting again or starting a new project or setting a new deadline? Is it the motivation to try something new? Is it to improve? When you look at, content management and your role here, and also your role as an artist, what are you always striving towards?
Well, that's another tough question. Um, I think I'm going to repeat myself, but I really look forward to having the discussions with my colleagues, especially with you, because we get to brainstorm new ideas, and I probably wouldn't be able to start or brainstorm any new projects or topics without, actually talking to other people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what helps me, and that's what I look forward to, just the collaborative process. So I think if I were a one-person agency, I would never get stuff done because I need the people around me. And I think so do most people. Like, teamwork is much, much better than just being an individual who tries to get stuff done but has this no sort of external accountability.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you for sharing. So, we talked a lot about innovation, time-constrained innovation, content-led innovation. So we want to close this episode with you today, as we close all of our episodes, which is passing along some great recommendations on that content wave. So can you share a book, an article, or a podcast, or a piece of content that you find yourself going back to again and again?
Yeah, I actually have my copy right here on my desk. It has been sitting here for the past 15 years, I think. It's going to be a boring tip. It's called Practical English Usage by Michael Swan. And I have been using it since I was a university student. And it's amazing because it has like 600 entries and it covers all important problems of English. It even lists British American differences like everyday usage, common mistakes, etc., etc. So if you want to learn more about the language you think you know, English, you should definitely buy this book. And my other tip is sort of artistic. It's the Melancholy Death, of Oyster Boy and Other Stories. It's a book of poems and it's written by Tim Burton. And it's a very short book, but it's amazing and it's lovely, it's funny, and it has amazing illustrations.
Wow, that is a great recommendation. Do you get inspiration from the poetry, and also the art from Tim Burton?
Yeah, to be honest, I hate poetry. This is the only poem book I love. But yeah, I think I do. I love early Tim Burton, and I even got this copy signed by him when he was in Prague 10 years ago. So it's like my most valued possession, this book.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And yeah, I think I just like to turn to my favorite artists for inspiration, not just, for paintings, but also for our blog posts and ebooks and white papers and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think folks will turn to you for inspiration, hopefully this episode, because we learned some great tips about how, deadlines don't have to be just a scary looming thing on your back, but really actually a momentum building tool to do some of your best work. So I really appreciate you sharing your advice with our listeners today, and maybe we'll have you on the podcast again to share some more insights. Really appreciate the time today.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. It was lovely, and have a nice day.
Yeah, you as well. See you.
Bye.